Tempting as it might be at this time of year to cease all structured training, adopting a slightly different approach, not to mention mindset, will mean that you can hang on to the valuable gains that you've made for a little while longer. Stick around to find out more. Okay, from the offset, I just want to make this clear. I'm not saying that there's anything inherently wrong with the common approach for many recreational cyclists of structured training in the winter, followed by simply riding your bike through the summer. I completely understand that having trained all winter, you now probably just want to go out there and ride your bikes as much as you can. In fact, up until recently, it's exactly the approach that I took despite knowing better. But just be aware that you cannot realistically expect to hang on to all of the gains you've made for the full duration of the summer season if you choose to go down this particular route. Use it or lose it might be a bit of a cliche, but it turns out that this saying perfectly sums up one of the key principles of fitness and exercise: reversibility. TrainerRoad have probably got the largest collection of data from structured workouts for cyclists ever compiled, and they have reported that they actually do witness a decline in FTPs of athletes who ditch the structured stuff altogether during part of the year. Use it or lose it. The good news is that it doesn't take much to keep the gains that you've made ticking over, because maintaining fitness is a whole lot easier than building it. You just need to reframe your mindset and your approach to structured training as you embark on the maintenance phase. So during the maintenance phase, you're not seeking to build on certain zones, merely just keep them topped off. Adopting this approach leaves you with the capacity to increase things, whether volume, such as duration and or frequency of your rides, or even intensity when it comes to your road rides. So during the maintenance phase, you'll probably be doing the same 1 or 2 structured workouts each week per block before switching them out for something else. But you'll be carefully managing the load to ensure that you're fresh for those key road rides. You don't have to always be increasing TSS on every single subsequent workout. You'll not be losing fitness by adopting this approach, you'll be maintaining, which is the whole objective, as we're trying to sustain a level for as long as possible. If you're still struggling with this concept, then maybe this following analogy will help. When you're building fitness over the long term, each week gets progressively more demanding. So in week 1, you deposit £10 into the bank. Week 2, it's £11. And then week 3, it's £12 before you take a week off and deposit a little bit less before starting again. Maybe this next cycle on £11, then £12, then £13 and so on. When you're simply maintaining, you'll just be depositing £10 in week 1, then £10 in week 2, and then £10 in week 3. Just because you're not ramping up your saving rate doesn't mean that you're not still saving. It's still money in the bank, right? And it's also at a level that you can sustain whilst providing you with some spare cash to use elsewhere. The TrainerRoad CEO, Nate Pearson, shared how once his wife retired from racing, she no longer has to put herself through a brutal training regime and now just needs to stay fit enough for the regular Saturday group ride. She simply does the same 2 workouts every week and at the same power output, so she can complete these workouts each and every time, and she no longer dreads them. So she's on permanent maintenance, so she never gets any stronger, but she never gets any weaker. And this approach might be familiar to some of you who've adopted a similar periodized approach to your resistance training for cycling. You do a couple of months with weights as your main focus, and when it comes time to increase the workload on the bike, you move to a maintenance phase with the weights. So you typically drop down to maybe just 1 session per week where you lift the same weights for the same reps, so as not to compromise an increase in the workload on the bike. So you don't get any stronger, but you don't get any weaker. Okay, it's all well and good knowing what we should be doing, but I appreciate at this time of year, jumping on the turbo is far less appealing than riding outdoors. So why not take your structured training outdoors, especially if you've got a power meter on your road bike? And even if you haven't got a power meter, you can still do some outdoor efforts to help keep things topped off. When doing intervals outdoors, you have to expect your power is going to jump about a little bit more than it does on the trainer due to things such as changes in gradient, wind and other external factors. So you do have to be prepared to work within perhaps an upper and lower parameter and try not to be so precise. In other words, Never let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I personally believe that what you might lose in terms of the precision of the turbo, you actually gain in specificity when you go and train outdoors, because your training is more closely matched to what you are training for, riding the bike outdoors. And as you know, all good training plans should become increasingly specific the closer you get to your chosen event. Structured outdoor workouts, though, do take a little bit of getting used to, but are definitely worth giving a go and persevering with. Many top coaches prescribe a lot of their training as outdoor sessions. Not only can they be more engaging than the turbo, you can also bag a little bit more bonus TSS during the ride out and the ride back from and to your chosen training ground. In addition to that, with a bit of careful thought and planning, you can do some of these outdoor sessions with a buddy, which makes them even more enjoyable and more likely that you'll commit to doing them. So I hope that this video has explained the benefits of maintenance, how to approach it, and what the aims are. I also hope it's motivated you to try and retain just a little bit of structure on a regular basis during this time of year, and maybe also to give outdoor workouts a try. So all it leaves for me to say is thanks for watching, and thanks again for trusting me with your training. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.